Today we're going to make an adjustable, moving part siege tower for extremely cheap. Coffee stirs, wooden dowels, and some tiny magnets is all you're going to need to make this. It fits in great with other pieces of terrain. If you make it the right height, you can use it for your own siege gameplay for your wargaming or tabletop needs. And the magnets with a little paper clip really tie that whole gate in together. So sit back and let's figure out how to make a siege tower. So as I said, this project becomes extremely cheap compared to some of the other ones. You need a large amount of coffee stirs, and you really don't have to pay for those if your wife already goes to Starbucks almost every single day. So get 2 of those and then start cutting them down. I'm doing a 3-inch wide profile for mine. I like to keep mine in kind of a inch by inch section, and 3 inches works for what I kind of want to do with this one. So I cut a bunch of 3-inch strips out of those same coffee stirs, and I'm going to glue them to those single long coffee stirs because I'm going to use those as kind of the barding on the outside of my main part of the siege tower. So I'm going to do that all the way up. It's going to take forever and you're going to hate having to cut all of them, but that's nothing compared to the hot glue you're going to have to put down and stop, put a little bit down, stop, put a little bit down, because if you do too many at one time, they're not going to stick. So I really recommend doing no more than 2 strips at a time. So again, beads of hot glue, drop down 1, and then maybe a second little kind of plank is what we'll call them because they're 3x3 little planks, and if they were life size, they would be plank size. So drop down a few little planks and then just repeat the process. Don't go all the way up because this is the face of the siege tower, and we actually want to leave a gap because that's where the kind of drawbridge section of it is going to be. So I kind of set it there and decide that, you know what, that's not quite tall enough, so I'm going to put maybe 1 or 2 more planks there. And that will kind of give me the level that I want, because I want my drawbridge to be level with my gate, because that's what I'm going to have people siege on during my gameplay. The next part is actually pretty key. As you can see here with the line, I actually have this slanted a little bit, and this is one of the side parts of the siege tower. They're not just straight up. It's not just a rectangular box. If they were, they could top over from just being too heavy in the wind, or people with really long sticks on the edge of the castle walls could maybe even push them over. So you want to make sure it's slightly slanted. I had my top part go in about 1/2 inch, and then do the same thing that you did before. A little bit of hot glue, and then drop a plank down, a little bit of hot glue, drop some planks down. But this time you want to go pretty much all the way up because we want the side to be completely covered. There's going to be no moving parts there, so completely cover the side, and then you're going to have a lot of kind of edge over the side, and that's fine. You can just take a regular pair of scissors and cut right up against that coffee stir, and it will give you a flush edge, and it's just as good as having to cut all them individually, but saves you a ton of time. So don't worry about that. Just let it hang over, and then you'll be able to cut the edges off accordingly. Now, it is key that the opposite side be the exact same dimensions, so there's a trick to that to make it a little easier. So do the same thing, glue the bottoms, but before you glue the tops, the back side of the other kind of side piece is the same as the front side of your other one. So lay them on there and just line them up perfectly with the coffee stirs on the other one, and then lay your top piece down and you'll get the exact dimensions of the other one. So you don't have to worry about, did I get it just right, and build a bunch of stuff and find out later that no, you did it wrong the whole time. So go ahead and lay down both the bottom and the top piece, and then start hot gluing your planks. Same thing as before, go ahead and glue them down, but again, don't worry about overlapping. Do one side flush is kind of what I recommend. On this one I do the right side flush and then leave overhang on the left side, and then I'm just going to again take some scissors up the side, cut the edges off, and it won't be a big deal. It's really sturdy, and the benefits of doing it this way again are you actually can't mess up the foundation, so you're good to go. We can start moving on to the platforms and what's going to hold this whole structure together, which we're going to use some dollar store wooden dowels. I got a pack of like 30 of them for maybe, well, actually $1. I got it at the dollar store, so exactly $1. So what I do was line those up on the inside of where the coffee stirrers are, make a mark with a knife, and then I take some Home Depot cheapo pliers, same ones that I've used in other builds, and just kind of score little bits of it until it's just enough to where I can snap them off, and it gives me pretty much the perfect piece that I want. You can see it fits right in there, and bada boom. We can go ahead and start cutting off the other side of it, which will be the foundation for our ledges. So again, take your pliers, crimp the edges, and just kind of push as hard as you can. Not even as hard as you can, sometimes it's pretty easy, and you'll get that perfectly flush piece with no overhang. And we're going to use that as kind of the ledge that holds up other wooden dowels. I could have used the planks, but I actually like the dowels because, one, they provided more structural kind of integrity for the whole thing, and I don't know, I just went with it. I like the dowels. So drop a line of hot glue along the bottom plank there, the top side of the bottom plank, and line that up. That'll be your ledge. And then we're going to take a whole dowel and line it up on what is the front, or the kind of straight up side of each of our sides. When we do that, that's going to provide something for our front side to actually glue onto. So again, hot glue your dowels onto the front side of your sides, and then just take a line of hot glue and glue that up onto the front. Now, use something to hold it up at 90 degrees. Don't judge. I used a candle because it works. It's not stupid if it works, right? So I just kind of sat those there for a second until it was sound, and boom, it works. It stands up straight. You could almost be done there, but we've got kind of a secret that we want to make this a really awesome build, which is we're going to hot glue some magnets in there to make the kind of moving drawbridge portion of the siege engine, which I think is the focal point really of the whole thing. So again, I just glue some neodymium magnets between two little plank pieces, and then I'm going to kind of set up another set of two plank pieces and put a ton of hot glue in there so that it's got a lot to stick to. And then I'm just going to take that and cover it up, and we're going to cover the tops, bottoms, and sides as well. We don't want to see the magnets at all. We just want it to look like mechanically the strings that we're going to put on this eventually are what is holding the drawbridge back, as if it was some sort of moving and working siege mechanism. It's not, but that's okay. We're going to hide metal and magnets in there, which will work just as well. So again, covering up every piece with little scrap pieces of the wood planks and whole wood plank pieces to make this kind of box that is magnetic. And when you put something up there, like a straightened piece of paperclip, it will hold it. So all we've got to do then is hide that straightened piece of paperclip somewhere in order to make things kind of kismet, right? So I'm going to glue just a little bit of pieces of dowel there to give this a little bit more structural integrity, and then I'm also going to glue one plank across, and then I'm going to glue that magnet box, as it were, right along that kind of plank, and that's where it's going to sit. Now I kind of want to show you a proof of concept so that you really understand how this works. So it's a kind of lever mechanism where there are some planks on the underside that will connect to a platform so that it can't fall any further forward, but when it tilts up, bing, that magnet will hold it there and it can't fall down. It's kind of embarrassing how long it took me to think of something like that, but there you go. That's a proof of concept. You kind of get what we're doing here now. So I'm gluing some planks to a dowel, but right here, you actually want to make some of those planks a little bit longer. Use some longer scrap pieces, or else it's not going to catch on the under part of that platform like I showed before. So speaking of platforms, let's go ahead and start making those. We now have the ability to take some 3-inch dowel sections and glue them right across the bottom. You might have to make them a little bit smaller than 3 inches, but it works. And it really is simple. Just do some dabs of hot glue on each side, throw the dowel in there, and boom. Repeat that process all the way out, and you really have a sound and structurally really well supported platform. You can put a lot of weight on that and nothing's going to happen to it. The hot glue really works. And now we're going to make the platform on the top. Align this about where you want the drawbridge to be, and once you do that, you can make a half-size section platform compared to the top, because you don't want it to be all the way out, because we're going to add a ladder fixture later. So now let's add that hidden little piece of metal so that it works and sticks to the magnet. Now I don't know about you guys, but I find it impossible to straighten a paperclip. So instead, we're going to take our pliers and just cut off all of the straight parts of the paperclip, which makes it a lot easier. Now right there where the arrow was, that's where the paperclip is going to hide in between two plank pieces. They're going to be a little bit crooked, but that's fine. We want that because that's how they used to kind of hook into the walls and make sure that they never got pulled out. So take a little bit of glue and hide all of those strips of the straight pieces of paperclip in there so that you'll never see them again, and this all just looks like one complete wooden piece. And then there you can kind of see the extra long planks that I had to go back and add in there so that it fits in. Now, the only other things that I would do is cut off the sides of the dowel so that it, fits and isn't just this huge, long, 5-inch wide piece there, and it will look perfect. And at that point, really, you can be done. It holds miniatures but we want to add a little bit more. We're going to add some extra aesthetic. So I'm going to take some scrap pieces of planks as well as another dowel to make a ladder on the back. The ladder sits perfectly just with some beads of hot glue on the back on the parts that are going to connect to the platforms. If you want, you may want to dab some super glue in there to make sure that it is extremely structurally sound, because on its own, it's a little bit weak. I didn't do it, but you might want to do it. Now I'm going to take some thread used for leather that's coated in beeswax, which is awesome because when you pull it really tight, it kind of stays there, and put some super glue on there so that the thread holds itself in. You don't need to do this. Again, it's just nice. It actually functions kind of for a reason later, but this will make it look like, there's a winch that helps pull the drawbridge open, right? It's mechanically there for a reason. It's not, but you know, we'll go with it. Then we're going to cut off some 1/2 inch sections of dowel to make a axle and wheel setup. If you have your own little mini wooden wheels, I highly recommend using them. I just wanted to keep the project cheap, and I went with some simple setup. So what I did for that was take some 1/2 inch pieces of dowel, glue it onto a full length dowel, and go all the way around with 6 pieces so that it makes kind of a circle. And then we're going to take and glue a piece of that kind of beeswax coated thread as we did before and wrap it all the way around so that it kind of gives a full wheel shape instead of this, you know, bumpy ride that it would be otherwise and be really impossible to push along the ground. So once you have that, same thing as before, super glue it so it's not going anywhere for the rest of its life. Do that twice and then lay your siege tower on it to kind of do a mock-up test. When you do that, take your pliers onto the other side, make a little mark, and then cut out the rest with some extra of those 1/2 inch dowels so that you have a full axle with 2 wheels on each side. The wheels aren't actually going to move, they're just going to sit there, but we want them to sit flat and look like it can move, right? The main thing that has to move is the drawbridge. Everything else is just extra. So take some hot glue, dab it onto the back so that it sticks, and dab extra glue on there or else it's gonna fall out. You may even want to super glue it, same with the ladder, because this part's kind of weak as well, and if you're gonna be knocking it over as if they defeated the siege tower, it's not gonna hold up for very long. But other than that, we are completely done. Like I said, those strings actually do serve some kind of purpose in that they don't let the drawbridge fall out like it would. You can still pull it out if you have to, but you know, it kind of still fits and makes it look mechanically sound. And with a little foresight, like I said, it will connect right onto some of your other terrain pieces. I try and make mine all inch by inch sections so that that kind of thing can happen. Thanks for watching. I was really happy with how this project came out. Subscribe if you might want to see more, or definitely tell me about what you might want to see in the comments so that I might be able to make that in the future. And thanks for watching today.
Open the drawbridge or we'll be forced to let our arrows fly upon you.
I really didn't think this siege was going to be so easy.